Madhiha Bilal here, and I will be your biology tutor at the Cambridge Online School. Basically here, the syllabus that we'll be following is Biology 6010. Today, in this video, we will be discussing an overview and some important information for the candidate that will tell them why it is better to choose Biology 6010 for their O-level exam. Okay, so in an introduction here, basically what we will be doing in this video today, we will be telling you why you will be choosing Cambridge Online School, why is this a better option for you as compared to the other conventional schools. Why study biology, of course, the aims of the syllabus, of course, a content overview of the topics that we'll be going through, an assessment overview of which papers you will be appearing for, the assessment objectives where we will be discussing what kind of questions will be there. Being a biology paper, there are certain mathematical requirements in the paper, so we'll be talking about those in this section. And of course, we'll be also speaking about the command words that will be present at the beginning of the question. So why do you choose Cambridge Online Schools? Basically, this is an institution where students from around the world, they are actually given a platform where they can engage in learning experiences online without the conventional methods of going through. They basically, through this platform, promote a love of learning and growth, right? And by that, what they do, they are able to approach challenges with confidence, learn through their mistakes, and continue to grow and develop over time. This portal here supports student success and personal growth. Basically, we do that by providing individualized attention and resources to help students overcome these obstacles, which help them achieve their goals. This also helps them create a supporting learning environment, which of course is given to them regardless of their race, religion, gender, or any other characteristics. We here at Cambridge Online School prepare students for the future. Basically, we make them experience the digital age, and they actually learn through the new technologies, effective communication, collaboration, and of course, they are ready to face today's world. This is a platform where they can actually initiate personalized learning, where they get individual attention from their teachers and they can focus on their areas of interest. You have experienced and qualified teachers here at the Cambridge Online School who are very passionate about helping their students succeed. This is a cost-effective platform which is actually an alternative to the traditional conventional methods, and the student is given high quality education at a lower cost. We here make sure that the student develops new career advancement opportunities which will help him or her pursue their professional goals. Why do you need to choose biology? Why study biology? Basically, biology is a subject where we help our learners develop different kinds of integrity, initiative, scientific skills, which help them to further go ahead in their life. An IGCSE biology candidate becomes confident when he or she is learning science, questioning ideas, using scientific knowledge to communicate their views and opinions. He becomes responsible working safely or alone or collaborating with others. becomes more reflective when he is learning through experiences that he is interested in. He becomes innovative when he is solving unfamiliar problems and confidently and creatively taking out their results. And he feels more engaged to develop these scientific skills when he's curious about the scientific principles and the applications that are working around in the world. The basic aims of the process of a course are based in the syllabus are helping the student to acquire scientific knowledge, understanding of scientific theories and practice, helping the candidate to develop a range of experimental skills, including handling variable and working safely. They also help use of scientific data and evidence to solve problems and discuss the limitations of the scientific methods that we'll be using along the course. The aim is also to communicate effectively and clearly using scientific terminologies, notations, and conventions along the syllabus. We help students understand the application of scientific knowledge can benefit people and the environment. And of course, this will help the candidate enjoy science and develop an informed interest in scientific matters which support further study. The content or the topics that the candidate will be studying in this syllabus are in total 21 topics. On the screen, there is a list of the initial 11 topics where the candidate will of course be studying characteristics and classification of living organisms, where he or she will be learning how to classify different living organisms into groups, organization of cells and of the organism. Here the examiner will be teaching the candidate about the cells and the specialized cells and how they function, the movement into and out of the cells, the different processes that help movement of substances like diffusion, osmosis, active transport. We'll be discussing them in the movement. Then we have the biological molecules. In the biological molecules, we'll be studying about different forms of carbohydrates, protein, fats, DNA, and how they are actually helpful in the working of the body. Enzymes are biological catalysts. They help in carrying out different kinds of chemical reactions in our body. So we'll be studying about enzymes in that part. Plant nutrition is how plants gain nutrition from the environment. Human nutrition is basically how we humans gain nutrition and process it through our digestive system. Transport in plants is a topic where we'll be talking about how plants carry out the process of transportation of different substances throughout the body, whereas in transport in animals, we'll be discussing the similar methods but in an animal's body. In the topic of disease and immunity, we'll be speaking about different kinds of microorganisms and how they are actually responsible for creating or infecting our bodies. And of course, in immunity, we'll be speaking about how our body is effective in helping out to protect against different kinds of diseases. Gas exchange is where we'll be studying about respiration, the breathing process. And then, of course, we've got excretion in humans, where we'll be studying about the excretory system. Coordination and response, we'll be studying about the brain, the eye, the hormones, and how they help our body function. In the topic of drugs, we'll be studying about different kinds of drugs like antibiotics and medicinal drugs and drugs of abuse and what effects they have on our body. Reproduction is a process which enables continuity of a species, so we'll be studying the details of animal and plant reproduction here. Inheritance basically is a topic where characters, they are carried forward from one generation to another, so we'll be studying about the inheritance there. variation and selection explains how we differ from our parents, basically. So that is what we'll be looking up here. Organisms and their environment and human influence on the ecosystem. These topics are interlinked, and these are basically topics where we'll be studying the interrelationship of the living and the non-living environment, how the living organism and the non-living environment are in a relationship to each other. In the last, we have the topic of biotechnology and genetic modification, where candidates will actually be studying new techniques of genetic engineering and how biotechnology, a new developing field of science, is helpful in the human race. So basically, when we look at an assessment overview, all candidates are required to take 3 papers. If you're appearing for biology 0610, a candidate should be able to take 3 papers. There are 2 kinds of syllabus over here. We have the core syllabus, where the candidate is expected to take paper 1, paper 3, and of course either paper 5 or paper 4. So paper 1 is a multiple choice question and paper 3 is a theory question, but these are the basic topics of the syllabus. And then paper 5 or paper 6, where he has to choose one of the either. Paper 5 is basically a practical paper, whereas the paper 6 is an alternate to practical. If the candidate is going for an extended syllabus, then they will not appear for paper 1 or paper 3. In fact, they'll be appearing for paper 2 and paper 4. So paper 2 is actually an extended multiple choice paper, and paper 4 is a theory paper. And other than that, of course, they will have to go for either one of these papers as their third exam, either the paper 5, which is the practical test, or paper 6, which is an alternate to practical. Now, the assessment objectives that are actually evaluated in these 3 papers are AO1. Here, the candidate needs to demonstrate knowledge and understanding. This is basically all the scientific facts, terminologies, names of apparatus, techniques, instruments, environment implications, anything that they have memorized during their syllabus. It all lies in AO1. Usually in paper 1, paper 2, paper 3 and paper 4, the candidate is assessed for AO1 questions. AO2 is basically handling information and problem solving. Here, the candidate should be able to use words and written form of presentations to locate, select, organize information, translate information from one form to another, manipulate numerical data, use information to identify patterns or form conclusions, represent reasoned explanations, relationships, patterns in between graphs and table knowledge, make predictions based on relationships and patterns, and of course, solve problems including some qualitative nature. Again, AO2 is an assessment objective which is assessed in paper 1, paper 3, paper 4 and paper 2. AO3 are basically experimental skills and investigations. These assessment objectives will only be found in paper 5 and paper 6. Here, basically what the candidate needs to do is only assess the knowledge that has been given to him. He needs to go forward with the concepts that have been given to him, and he here needs to plan investigations or experiments He needs to draw tables from the observations that is given to him. He needs to draw graphs, bar charts, interpret observations and data. A little mathematical calculations are also included where he needs to evaluate methods and suggest possible improvements. So all these you will be doing in paper 5 or paper 6. Here we have a weightage of the assessment objectives. You can see that in papers we have 50% of AO1, 30% of AO2 and 20% of AO3. As I told you previously, you can see that AO1 can only be found in paper 1 and 2 and 3 or 4. Similarly, AO2 is also found in paper 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and AO3 will only be found in paper 5 and paper 6. A few mathematical requirements are, of course, required in the paper. Usually these will be seen in paper 5 or paper 6. These are simple mathematical concepts where you need to add, subtract, multiply, divide. You need to know how to use decimals, fractions, ratios, reciprocals. You need to calculate percentages. You need to express your answers in significant figures or decimal places as per asked in the question. You need to be able to round off your answers appropriately. You may also require a little algebra where simple algebraic equations can be required, where you need to find the value of x or substitute physical quantities into a formula. When we speak about geometry and measurements, we should be aware of converting centimeter cube, decimeter cube, milligram, gram, kilogram from one unit into another. You should also be able to understand the meaning of angle, curve, circus, radius, diameter, okay? These are basically things that might be asked for you to calculate or measure. You can be asked to calculate the volume or surface area of rectangular blocks or of a cylinder. For all these purposes, you have to know how to use a ruler. You have to be aware of the units on the ruler, and of course, measuring all of this, you should be able to record the data and give the required calculation. For all these calculations, you may use a calculator. A calculator is approved in all 3 papers the candidate is appearing for. In paper 6 and paper 5, we have graphs, charts, and statistics. Basically, in this paper, you are asked to draw graphs, and these graphs is where you should actually be able to identify the axes, that is the x-axis and the y-axis. You should be able to simply scale out the graphs. You should be able to plot an accurate value of the graph. You should be able to calculate the mean or a set range of value. You should be able to take out the probability ratios in a graph. When we are talking about taking and recording readings, there are questions where we are given the data in a very raw form, and we are asked to draw tables and record the given raw form of data. So here we should be available that we should have the correct number of columns and the correct number of rows, including the heading row. We should be aware that the heading row should always have the units in it, because the numerical data does not carry the units with it. The units are only written along with the heading. The data is only recorded in the form of significant figures without any uses. Please make sure that when you're drawing a table, the first column is always of the independent variable and the second column is of the dependent variable. When we are drawing graphs, you need to make sure that a graph drawing is for 4 marks. So you need to make sure here that the first mark is for the identification and labeling of the x and y axis. The x-axis holds the independent variable, whereas the y-axis holds the dependent variable. The second mark is for making sure that the scale on both the axes is equal. The third mark is for your accurate plotting, and the fourth mark is for joining all the plots by a ruled line or a line of best fit. Now please make sure that when you're plotting a graph, you have to plot it by an X or dot with a circle. You don't use anything else because that is not approved by the Cambridge University. So whenever you're plotting a graph, you either use an X to plot or a dot with a circle. Another thing that you should keep in your mind is that the graphs are always plotted with a sharp pencil. You do not use anything else, you just use a sharp pencil to draw your graph. Make sure that the graph is drawn very accurately and we have the line of best fit or all the plots are joined in a ruled line. If you are asked to interpret a value from the graph, make sure that you draw the interpretation on the graph. There is another question in paper 6 and paper 5 where you are asked to draw a diagram that has already been provided to you. Make sure, again, you're using a pencil to draw. You're drawing, not sketching, so make sure there are fine lines, no clear and unbroken lines. Be sure that there is no shading or no use of color and you draw what you see exactly like the specimen. The label lines on your diagram should be drawn using a ruler and they should touch the object which you are labeling. Make sure that all the lines are on a single side of your picture drawing. If we speak about charts being drawn, there are some times where you're asked to draw pie charts to show the percentage of proportionality. Sometimes you are asked to draw bar charts. When you're drawing a bar chart, make sure that the width of each bar is equal and the gap between each bar is also equal. Histograms usually are drawn for a continuous data and the bars of the histogram do not have any gap in between. Here we have a set of command words and their meanings. These are basically words that you will find at the beginning of the questions in your exam paper. So if you go through these words, you can actually understand what the examiner is actually wanting from the candidate. Calculate means you need to work out the given facts and figures or information. When the word compare is used, you need to identify, comment on similarities or differences given in the question. Define means you need to give a precise meaning. Describe is where you need to state the points of a topic, give the characteristics and main features. Determine is where you need to establish an answer using the available information. When you're evaluating, you are actually judging or calculating the quality, importance, amount, or value of something. For an explanation, you actually need to give purposes or reasons or make relationships between the provided knowledge and the relevant evidence. Give means that you need to produce an answer from a given source or recall from a memory. When you're asked to identify, you simply need to name, select, and recognize the given object. Outline means you need to give a set out main point. Predict is when you're suggesting what might happen based on the available information. Sketch is to simply draw a freehand drawing showing the key features taken care over proportions. State is where you express in clear terms. And suggest is where you apply knowledge and understand the situation where there is a range of valid responses in order to make proposals and put forward consultation. Looking forward, hope this video was helpful for all of you. I'll be looking forward that you all will be with me in the videos further ahead.